Glass is a decent movie, but there are some things in it that I think prevent it from being a great movie. So while I do still think that it's worth seeing, watching it, I liked it, but I kept sitting there thinking that, there were certain things, elements that could have been in it that could have made it just like so great. Like the movie wanted to make you feel for its characters, and there was this overall theme that I think M. Night Shyamalan was going for, but he didn't execute certain things well enough to really, make a home run as I think he wanted to, and I'll explain. For one thing, Glass is a lower budget movie. So, and it's about like people with superpowers, superheroes, supervillains, stuff like that. So the final showdown or final fight at the end of the movie when, characters are meeting and engaging with each other, although it is still interesting and engaging, it's not quite as jaw-droppingly awesome as it could be because not compared to the spectacles that we get in superhero movies today, like with Marvel and DC, right? So, a movie doesn't have to have a big budget to be good, of course, but because of the kind of movie Glass is, there were things that could have been in it that you could have thought, oh man, it could have been, just visually awesome if they had spent more money on it. But, because it's lower scale, you kind of sit there thinking that, man, this really could have been a bit more of a visually spectacular. Like there's a tease that there was going to be this fight in this like awesome high-rise building. And then when we get to the end of the movie, although the final confrontation is still like worthwhile, it's not quite the huge, awesome, throwdown that was kind of teased in the beginning. There's a reason for that, but even so, you just still like, man, it's kind of a letdown. The movie does attempt to show like a lot of sadness in the characters, evolution in their lives and the struggle that having superpowers has in the traumas that have happened to them in their past, how that's affected them. But the movie doesn't really spend as much time showing us these struggles or the evolution, the sad, tragic trajectory of these people's lives in this movie for, the things that happen to be as, sad or emotionally, like gripping as they could have been. I mean, they started to, but, it kind of jumped around between the three main characters throughout the movie a bit much. And, we didn't really get to see, how sad a lot of things had worked out for them. I mean, it's kind of implied and maybe in previous movies, but, we needed to, I think, emphasize it a bit more here. Like, for example, James McAvoy's character, who has split personalities, was abused as a child. And, I think the movie is trying to show us that he's a victim, but you never really see him as anything but a villain because we don't really see too much of the sadness in this character explored in this movie. It was kind of in Split, but even then I don't think Split really showed it to us that much. And it's the same for each of the three characters. Like Sam Jackson's character, who's the bad guy, the main bad guy, and Bruce Willis's character, they just kind of do things and go from point A to point B. But there's not enough, I guess, character moments there for us to really, really feel for them as strongly as we should, I think, given that this movie kind of relies on you really feeling for these characters, I think, for it to work. Because this is the kind of superhero movie or, superpower movie that's not just a comic book movie. It has to have more to it. And it does have more to it, but it doesn't have as much of that, sophisticated quality to it to push it over the edge. And speaking of the three main characters played by Sam Jackson, Bruce Willis, and James McAvoy are awesome characters. And they meet certain fates in this movie that are kind of a letdown, given what has been built up for them over the past three, movies and the caliber of actors and, the kind of dramatic implied promise that this movie laid out for people in the beginning, for all of us from the beginning with Unbreakable and then was continued in Split and is now, I guess, completed in this movie. It's kind of like, after they go through all of this, this is how it ends. I'm not going to spoil what happens, but again, like I was saying, with the final confrontation from a technical perspective, this was also dramatically kind of a letdown because you kind of think these characters were meant for a little bit something more, given, the promise of this spectacular, brave new world that's, was sort of set out in the beginning. There's a world full of superpowered people, and we have the three main ones who are the anchors of the universe, this universe so far, and it's like, they don't really seem to be done too much justice here by the time the movie ends. But all in all, there is enough. There's a start of all the things that I was saying here to make this movie good enough to see. But watching it, you just feel like if M. Night Shyamalan had just worked more with what he had or laid the storyline elements together a bit better, this movie would have been a lot, like more satisfying than it actually was. Still not a bad movie, but not quite as great as it could have been. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like it on YouTube and subscribe to the channel because I appreciate your viewership, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.